Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Tim Tonella with us today. He is CEO at Matchstar. So we're going to talk about executive recruiting. We're going to talk about venture capital. We're going to talk about executive search, recruiting, entrepreneurship, startup, everything in between. Tim is in SF. So we're going to talk about what's happening there as well. The ecosystem, especially in the AI field, is quite healthy, and we're seeing growing exponentially. That was what me and Tim were talking pre-pod here. This podcast is brought to you by podfire.com. By the way, if you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts like this one. Tim, can you tell me a bit more about yourself and about your businesses?
Sure. So I'm a lifelong sales guy, trained by an entrepreneurial father that literally took me at a young age and took me to all his sales meetings in the healthcare space. And we would sit around and debrief, not sales techniques, but really what were people saying? What's their motivations? Where are they coming from an emotional standpoint? Because if you really understand what's driving someone emotionally, they're more likely to like you and be willing to give you the information so that you actually help them. And so that's kind of been the life philosophy I've taken. Went through school, went to a large company. Over the first 10-year period, I traveled all over the world. Had great opportunities, brought in what would be today nominal dollars, about $750 million from cold calling to collections. Then went on and became an executive in several large companies. At one point, I was a key member on a core team running a $1.5 billion company. And then I went into recruiting, which was really interesting. And the recruiting that we went into specifically, and that's my company, Matchstar Venture Search, our focus is primarily about 95% working with venture-backed companies, many of them earlier stage. And the recruiting is a very large industry, covers every specialty area you can imagine. But the reason we do this, and I know this would connect with you too, Charles, is there's something about working with dreamers, people that their main motivation is not to make money. They know that with success comes, the rewards and the financial rewards, but what's driving them is wanting to do something creative and wanting to impact the world in a special way. And there's nowhere better than that in the Silicon Valley. So many of these great technologies, great businesses, they've all come out of that desire, that mission to do greater good. And so every day when I get to talk to someone, at least in the field that I'm in, it's a positive conversation. It's like, hey, we want to change the world. We need to grow. We need to hire people that believe in what we believe in, that are really talented and motivated. And that makes for a really exciting day. And it also gives me a chance to touch endless companies that are on the edge of the envelope. And sometimes it's overwhelming, a lot to keep up with because there's so many technologies happening. But it's also very exciting because I feel like I'm always in the game early, keeps your mind fresh. Just as a fun example, where I live in San Francisco, a lot of people don't know this, even very smart people. But if I go outside of my door, get my car, I'm going to see everywhere cars driving around near me, and there's no driver in them. They're just literally empty, and they're driving all over the roads. This is happening. And I tell people in New York or the Midwest that this is going on, and they have that look of complete mysticism, like, are you kidding me? But no, this is literally going on at scale in San Francisco right now, and this is where the world is moving. And I'd rather be early on, be a part of it, be able to talk about it, meet people that are making it happen, than having my head in the sand, hoping that maybe it's too much to learn and it passes me over. So that's a little bit about what we do, and our mission basically is to provide high impact people that want to make a difference, that can really help these early stage companies through hyper growth and get to that next milestone, and ultimately get into some form of an exit, which is usually through an IPO or more likely an acquisition that helps build upon the success of a large company.
And the reason that you just mentioned is why I want to live a good part of the year in SF Bay areas, just to have access to the latest tech, not get overwhelmed by it. So like have other spots in the world. But yeah, SF is quite special for that. Looking at your career here, I see like a couple of VP sales role, VP role here, and then you started your company, or you were at least CEO of JRX Biotechnology, then priceprospector.com, then a venture partner. So what did you learn from these experiences before founding your first businesses?
Well, again, I learned that the most important thing you can do to grow any business anywhere is help them find good people. I mean, there's financial capital, there's all kinds of different forms of capital, but human capital is still the most important one. As you and I were talking about again, pre-pod, even with the ability of AI to come in and provide these enormous productivity gains, there's still the prompter, there's still money at the top. We have an old saying that your job is not going to be replaced by AI. Your job will be replaced by somebody that's using AI when you aren't. So I think really finding people has always been a theme for me, connecting with people and trying to put people together. And that's really kind of what I do today. I look at people that are either raising money, they've got a great idea, or they're trying to just grow their business. And in many cases, it's not even about finding a search partner for them, but maybe they're trying to tackle a specific business issue. Maybe they are saying, hey, I don't know enough about AI. It's coming very quickly. We really haven't spent enough time on it. Who is out there that I could talk to who could really give me that 40,000 level viewpoint on it, who has kind of the chops behind them? And maybe I know somebody that's the head of AI for one of the biggest tech companies in the world, and as a favor to me, they would talk with that company. So I try to be a little bit of a matchmaker. Our company is called Matchstar. We match stars up in the venture space, and we're a search firm. That's where the name Matchstar Venture Search comes from. But it's really about pairing up people and ideas to help them grow. Sometimes it turns into a paid financial transaction. You hire us to go out find a superstar chief revenue officer for you. But a lot of times it's just creating that ecosystem and that network where we can pair good people together to create some type of positive energy for someone.
How do you recruit the best resources, especially in the CEO seat? It seems like such a hard task. A bunch of CEOs have been fired, especially in COVID and post-COVID. How do you find that superstar for your company?
Yeah, well, that's a little bit of a combination of science and art for sure. The science part would be having the systems and the deep network connections and the reach so that you have potential access. And even with, like LinkedIn today is just a tool, although it's a very powerful tool that's kind of, I think it's brought the barriers down for a lot of the large search companies. Smaller players can use LinkedIn and do that type of thing. But part of it is having the tools, the technology, the know-how to be able to gate the initial access. But then how do you get somebody interested to speak with you when they have no interest whatsoever in leaving their current role? Maybe the CEO of a great company, they're doing well. The art part is the art of selling. It's getting people to be able to kind of envision their life and their future, maybe in a different frame or different way than they're seeing it today. Get them to emotionally think about, hey, I've been doing this for a period of time and it's been great, but maybe the impact I'm really trying to make in the world isn't there. Maybe I want to do something that's in a more exciting area, or something that's going to give me more of a legacy, or a lot of times people, as they get older in their life, certain causes, certain missions become more important, and they're willing to make a change. And so I think the heart of it is trying to find really great players and trying to connect with them on an emotional basis and figuring out where do they really want to go in the next 5 years, what's really important to them, not just business but family, health, all these different issues play a role in that ultimate decision to do that. And of course, for searches like a CEO, in almost every case, if it's not a person coming in to take over the role of a CEO who's either being let go, or maybe they're going to move into a different position, they want to bring somebody in to do, they have skills that they don't have. Usually those are conducted at the board level. So you're dealing with private equity or venture capital board members that are kind of co-running the search with you.
You've dealt with various influential and really successful people in Mexico, in the US, in the SF Bay Area. What have you learned from these mavericks, their quirks, their mindsets, their day-to-day, their habits?
Well, my experience in Mexico was a completely different industry many decades ago. But as we shared pre-pod, Mexico is very interesting, and I had the amazing opportunity to get connected at a very high level, and then networked into a very high level of the business and the political kind of community back then. And one of the things I learned, and, this doesn't matter whether it's politics, whether it was business, at least in Mexico, the lesson I learned was how important family is. That's the main thing you get when you're in Mexico. It's so important. They take the time out to really spend time with you. When Americans sometimes want to talk about the transaction very quickly. My experience in Mexico was, let's talk about what's important to you, your family, those things. And as we get comfortable, then we can talk about the things that are maybe transactional. And that's really something I brought into my sales career. I've always tried to connect initially with the person based on either things that we have in common, mutual interests, or even more so, where we share common principles and values. Because I think those are the things that are the closest to people's hearts. And if you have that mutual connection, then people feel that affinity towards you, and they're willing to open up and share the information that you need to really be able to help them and make a difference. So that's the experience I've learned. The experience I've learned here in the Silicon Valley in the last 10 years is no matter how successful you are, you have to be an open sponge all the time. The pace in which ideas are moving is unprecedented, particularly today. And the greatest ideas can literally come from anywhere. It could be an 18-year-old kid coming from another country that is just started, he's graduating from Stanford, and that's it. Or it could be somebody that is older, that has a lot of experience, that ran companies but never started something on their own, and they have that dream to do that. And so being an open sponge, which does require a little bit of humility. The one thing about the Silicon Valley in particular is that you are never going to be the smartest guy in town ever. And it is humbling to see the brain power that exists out here and the number of people that have been tremendously successful who are so open to helping other people. That is kind of the beauty of this small 60, 90-mile radius around San Francisco.
What skills have you seen also in Mavericks nowadays? For example, you and I, we've talked about AI and or human ability to use that technology and to adapt. And I'm seeing that skill as a core skill for the future AI oligarchs that we've talked about pre-pod. What other skills can be hyper useful as a human to try financially and emotionally in 2023 and to the sky?
Well, this will be an area that will be an interesting development for AI, but I think, to be successful, you have to be able to build great teams around you. And to build great teams, you have to motivate on one end, but you also have to provide empathy on the other end. Those are the two key things that draw people together. And I don't know how AI it would probably never emotionally feel those things, and they intellectually understand the nature of that. But those are core skills that a lot of the great leaders I see have, because a lot of times when you're starting up these companies, you don't have a lot of money. You're completely limited in your resources. And to attract really strong people, they're not just coming for the business opportunity, they're coming for something else. They're coming to work with you as an individual. They're coming to be on a special team of people that are like-minded, share the same common goals and values. And that is an emotional decision, much more so than it is a career or financial decision.
On your side, there's a lot of recruiting firms out there, exec recruiting firms. How do you distinguish yourself, and what do you charge? Is it like the typical 20% of the first and second and third year of salary? How does that work?
Well, so there is a landscape in a horizontal landscape of recruiters that would start on one end to low barrier of entry. Just anyone can become a recruiter. You're a contingency recruiter. If somebody says, "Hey, send me a resume, and I like the guy, I'll hire and pay you," that would be on the far end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is going to be firms like ours and other retained search firms, where people are willing to say, "Look, I'm going to pay you a bunch of money. I'm going to pay you a bunch of money up front. This is going to be extremely confidential. No one's going to know about the opportunity, and then it's up to you to go out and find the perfect person." And they range anywhere from people who will do it just completely on the back end with no money down, all the way up to people requiring 75% of that money in advance for their efforts and their resources. So we're a little bit of a hybrid, and the only reason I say that We take less money up front, much less. We have very long performance guarantees because we know we're probably going to be successful, and we operate very quickly. Our model was specifically designed around the DNA of the clients we serve, which are early stage venture-backed companies. So for an early stage company, let's say you went out and started a company, you raised $7 million, you want to spend a little bit of money on a recruiting fee. If I were to walk into the door and say, hey, Charles, I got a great opportunity for you. You've got to pay me a lot of money. You've got to pay me almost all the money in advance. I don't have to perform for you. And I can take as much time as I'd like. Please sign on the dotted line. That may not sound so great to an entrepreneur who has their entire life and blood, sweat, and tears. Their skin is in the game. So we realized early on, if we want to connect, philosophically with these same types of founders, that we had to have skin in the game. So we couldn't operate like a traditional retained search firm, take all our money in advance. But there is a certain amount of money that we want to see the client commit to, or they're not going to take you serious, right? I mean, anyone will take something for free, but they're not going to really commit their time and effort and actually make the deal unless they're really committed to the process. So our model, we take a little bit of money up front, a little bit in a tranche, not that much. Most of it is on the back end. We have long performance guarantees. And even though we are exclusive, the companies are still able to conduct their internal searches through non-recruiting agencies. So it's very common in our business. There's a parallel search going on with what we're doing. Maybe the company's got a head of talent, and they're running ads on LinkedIn and job boards, and the CEO's talking to the board, and the board's looking at their network. And sometimes they actually come back to us and say, hey, we've got these great internally sourced candidates. We want to dump them into your process so that the candidates we sourced are being benchmarked consistently with the same process that you are. That way we really know whether the person that we found, maybe we got lucky or a referral, how do they stack up against the people that you're providing? Because I find out that they don't care so much about the fee. They care about finding a great talent. Let's say you're going out there and you're going to pay, you're bringing on a C-level executive. What matters most isn't necessarily the income or the salary you're paying them. It's what is the financial impact that person's going to do over the next couple of years. So if you're arguing over, increasing the guy's compensation an extra 40 grand, but if the person hits their milestones, it's going to add another $30 million of valuation on the back end of your company. You kind of have to think about like, what's really the trade-off? What I really want is the success of that person, so they have the valuation on the back end. So that's kind of where we fit in, and that's kind of how we look at people, not just what their cost is to bring them on board, but what is the result and what is the impact that you want this person to make on the company. And if they're successful, what does that impact really look like? Does it get you to the next milestone? We can actually get a new funding round, keep you going. Does it solve a problem? Does it get you to those core clients? Does it get you to a larger market share position? That's really kind of where I want to go with it when I'm talking to a CEO or even an investor in a company.
Last question.
Sure.
I call it doing good at scale. You call it do good recklessly.
Yes.
How does one do good recklessly?
Yeah. So what does that mean? Is that the question? Well, my motto in life has always been to try to help people out and not really ask for anything in return. And if you try to do good things for the right people, they're going to appreciate that. They're going to bring you into their inner circle. They're going to share information with you. And of course, they're going to want to work with you long term. So my motto is just go out there in the world, try to do some good for people. This is a brand of a friends who started with this motto, do good recklessly. When I was in high school, my high school football team had a term where they said, let's go out with reckless abandon. And it's really not about doing things crazy or taking excessive risks or anything like that. But it's that idea of, if you're going to do it, go all in, be all in. To me, that's what recklessly means. Like, I am all in 100%. And if we can do good with that attitude, then that's probably going to lead to a pretty fulfilling life with a lot of people that you've helped, and a lot of friendships and a lot of good memories. And at the end of the day, it's the memories of the relationships we had with people, in the experiences with people, that really matter as you get close to the end of the finish line of life. It's not going to be, the jobs you had, the money you made, and, the memory of the impact that you made in a specific, marketplace. No one's going to remember that. And so do good recklessly and good things will come back to you.
Last question, promise.
Sure.
Your top 3 goals for the rest of this year? There's like 3 months left.
For this year. Well, yeah. So one thing I'm working on actively right now is I've built these incredible relationships with people all over the country and all over the world for the last 30, 40 years. And the people that they're not only successful, but I like them. And so one of my goals is to build deeper relationships with them, understand what they're looking for, and then pair up all these amazing people together and see what happens and see what comes of it. And that's something that I'm actually doing that by design, building list spreadsheets so I can make connections when the opportunities are there so I can help people out. So that would be a major goal. For me personally, focusing on fitness and health is always really important. There's a lot of things that are going on right now, both in the medical science field, but as well as in fitness and training. And if you don't have health as you continue to age, get older, you don't have that energy level, then you really can't accomplish anything. And then the third thing for me is really just a personal thing, which is spending more time with my children. I have 4 children, ranging from 1 in college down to a 1-year-old. And that period to make an impact in their lives is very, very short. And, trying to really focus on that as a prime goal is really one of the most important things for me throughout the end of the year.
Love it, Tim. Where can people find out more about you?
Sure. So they can go to my email address is tim@matchstar.com. They can go www.matchstar.com. That's the search firm. So if you're a client, you want to bring on superstars to help you build your business and achieve your dreams, call us. We'll help you find that, do that. But also today in this market, a lot of executives are either going through a career change or they're actively looking right now. And they don't know really what to do. It's very difficult. It's very competitive. So I started a YouTube channel. It's called Dream Job America. You just go to Google, type in Dream Job America. I'm just starting that channel, 15 videos up. But it's taking lessons from over 400 hours of private consultations I did with company co-founders and CEOs over the past 18 months on strategies, tactics, for finding new opportunities that maybe are not in the public domain. We call this the unpublished or hidden marketplace. That's the overall theme of that. There's a website, www.dreamjobamerica.com, that you can also go to. And there's some downloads and things of that nature that'll help you look at a strategy for finding opportunities that maybe are not publicly available. Most of the insiders, particularly in the Silicon Valley, they're not going just answering job postings on LinkedIn and ads on job boards. I mean, they have a whole strategy that incorporates networking within the ecosystem to either find opportunities that are confidential right now, or opportunities that are going to be created in the near future. And my goal is to help those executives find their next job, get involved in those conversations, and then have those board members or those CEOs say, hey, we're going to do this anyway in the next 3 to 6 months. Why don't we try it out with you? Love what you're saying, and ultimately have a job created for you, which means no competition, greater likelihood of success because you've already made those mutual connections, maybe even started working with them on a part-time basis, and we go from there. Again, I don't get paid for that, but my ultimate goal is to help people find jobs and be happy in their career, and the cup runneth over and will come back to me. So that's where you can find me these days.
Well, Tim, thanks a lot. I am Charles Cormier, host of CEOwisdompodcast.com. That was Tim Tonella, mesdames et messieurs.